And welcome to our Abuja studios. My name is Nwaboz Njoku. In Abuja this morning, beautiful, cool. You know, the temperature here drops in the morning, and signs that the Harmattan is by the corner. At least we feel better in Abuja these days, not sweating from head to toe, and not all the rains that almost came like a deluge. It's like a springtime for Abuja people. So wherever you are, just join us and enjoy the morning. And this is Signature Morning. Now, it is not always that we bring diplomats to our studio, because diplomats have a way of speaking in euphemisms. But today we are going to have to get a diplomat to speak outside of euphemism and face the facts. What are we discussing? We'll be looking at issues in Africa's development, but also what can be done to improve matters. But it is a special occasion for my guest this morning, Steve Omoka. Steve Omoka is a diplomat with the ECOWAS Commission, and today, it's going to be Tuesday, Steve will be celebrating his 60th birthday. But that's not why he's here. He's here because he'll be launching 3 books, all of which dwell on the topic we are talking about today. Steve, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Joko. Pleased to be with you.
Steve, how does it feel being in diplomatic circle for as long as 20 years?
Well, about up to 20 years. Yeah, 17 years. About
that. Since 2008.
Yes, there's is a lot of cooking. You have to be cooked manner-wise, intellectual-wise, so many things. So is a place to be. It's a place to be, but it's also esoteric.
Challenges?
Oh, challenges are there. Challenges are there very much, especially when it comes to statecrafting. Quite a lot of challenges, but we give God the glory, the way we say in Nigeria.
Now, Steve, today, Tuesday, because we're talking about today, Tuesday, you're going to be presenting 3 books. The dialogue, and this dialogue is the vulnerable and the desperate. And then the songs of Ogade, am I right?
Yes, you're right.
The songs of Ogade. Permit me to translate Ogade. It means it shall be. Songs of it shall be. And this other book, Vengeance, Africa, the vengeance of the abandoned. Steve, I want to dwell on, because I had a snippet of this and I was excited by its content. And it appears that you are worried. No, you are looking at Africa's slow development. You are looking at Africa's sense of failure. You are looking at the disposition of the youth to the underdevelopment of Africa. But let me hold you to account first. You've been in fora, in rooms and boardrooms where Africa's development is discussed. And you've looked at setbacks on the African continent. Are those boardrooms, are those negotiation rooms, are they deceptions? Or do they mean really to help Africa's development?
Thank you very much. You can't say that there are deceptions. You can also reason that the content of discussions in those boardrooms are well meant. Yes, but you now ask yourself if you have applied this system for how many years, and you are getting the same results. So there is something wrong, and the fundamental issues that need to be rethought are what this book is talking about. There is the exclusion of young people from the leadership mix in Africa, and the research, 12 years research to get at this, took me back to find out where it began, and it was discovered that the African leadership philosophy was all inclusive pre-colonization. Everybody aspired to be a leader, and even modern leadership theory supports what happened then. You could lead from anywhere. You needn't be the head of state before you could lead, and you could lead from anywhere and still make impacts. So the age grade system, for instance, in my Onigbo community, presented that everybody would move from one age grade to another, and then you became a dataed member of the community. There is a data where you could be found, and you belong to a group, and you had a social responsibility. So by the time you graduate from one age grade to another, you got to puberty age grade, and then you exit the puberty age grade and get married if you are a man, and then you start aspiring to take titles, to belong to the council of elders. So now what happened is that there were no much vices. Everybody knew one another, and we didn't have armed robbery. We didn't read about armed robbery and things fall apart. I don't know if you read, nothing like that. So the young people found what they could do, belonged there, and got it done. So Okonkwo was a warrior, and Okonkwo was not the man who took decision for his community, Umuofia. And when he tried to usurp the decision making in Umuofia, he ended up committing suicide. It wasn't time to fight a war. He was a warrior, but he wasn't the person who was going to declare war. And he declared the war and fought the war by himself, and nobody fell behind him, so he committed suicide. So what happened? When we had contact with colonization, they looked at the whole thing. Either they did not understand it, it was too complicated or sophisticated for them, or they were afraid that the unity it projected was going to be inimical to their objective. So that marked the beginning of gathering of those forces of denudation that devolved all of them. So there was a disconstruction and the dismantling of the African leadership philosophy. So they now handed over the Western political system to our early intelligentsias, Nkrumah, Zik, all of them. They received this. And how did they receive it? By struggling. From then, unfortunately, struggling became a pattern, a road to getting political power. It wasn't there before. You didn't need to struggle.
You grew into it.
You grew into it, and you passed through many stages. The institutions of learning and the education, the secret societies, the masquerade, all of them were blackmailed. So now every young man had to struggle. And let me tell you, the struggling is not a struggle to be recognized or struggle to be included. It is across every area of endeavor. A young boy that has graduated from school, let's assume that somebody went and read straight and got a PhD. The person who wants to be cannot achieve the dream of becoming a local government councillor because he may not have enough fund to buy a nomination form. That is part of the struggle, and that is part of the exclusion. So the exclusion has become systemic. And because it has become systemic, these guys are completely on their own, and they have been growing. They are now flooding out on the streets. A lot of abandonment keeps going. The other day, the Minister of Internal Affairs in Nigeria raised the alarm of how many children that were being born in prison, in their thousands, and he said he didn't even know it was that much. So now you go, the pattern is travel all through the African capitals. You will see street children. You will see them begging, and you don't know who they are. Some of them don't know who they are. The vulnerable and the desperate is the story of a street boy who doesn't know his name. He doesn't know his parents. He doesn't know his tribe. He doesn't know his country. He found himself on the street. The mother abandoned him before he could turn 2. And how he manages to survive and what he goes through is what this book is talking about. And the songs of Ogade, like you said, yes, Ogade, abbreviation of Ogadima. So it shall be well. So the songs of Ogade is invoking the voices of those who died before the age of 2. From fetus to those who could not make it to their second birthday. They are crying from their graves. Their voices, silent, unknown, and oblivion up till now, have been given life to speak for themselves. And you have a lot of people, infants, dying in Africa today because of so many things that can be avoided. So the 3 projects come up to intensify the call, the urgency of the message for African leaders to look down a little and see the youth and make sure that the youth are given attention. Like you said, you talk about failure of leadership in Africa or African failure. No, it hasn't failed. But these books are saying if this is not done, the failure is an assurance, because we cannot move an inch. In the next turn, and in the turn of the next century, you ask yourself, today, what we have is no longer disruptive innovation. That's what we had when we were doing our MBA. Today, we have intractable innovation. Before you download an app today, before you use the app for 2-3 hours, by the next 24 hours, there will be an updated version of that app. So you now ask yourself, where are the African youth going to be in the mix of things in the next century with this crazy level of innovation going on? How are we preparing them? How can they compete? Because they can not only compete among themselves. The internet and social media have changed everything. They must compete globally. You sit down, you work, she's doing how many jobs where she's sitting in the room. My son is doing two master's degree with his laptop. So how do you want these African children to contend with what is going to come in future? By allowing them to roam the streets. If they fail, if they don't succeed against their mates globally, they will bounce back at us. So the thing is that the book is saying that the danger is not only as to what happens to them, but we are not going to be safe.
Now, before that danger arrives, because apparently it is on its way unless something is done, who are going to do it? Let me tell you why I ask you this question. The African leadership that these books are drawing attention to what is happening to the African youth and by extension the African development are the very same people who have stalled, captured, Who could be calling me now? Okay, if you want to join us, you join us. We are live on this conversation. I'm with Steve Omoka, and we are looking at issues on Africa's development, issues affecting Africa's development. Maybe if you cannot hear us, let us continue. You join us thereafter. Okay. Now, Steve, the very people these books are talking to, who ought to listen to you, understand the situation, try to arrest, if not reverse the situation, are the same people who have stalled the process, captured the institutions, are inflicting the very thing we're complaining about on the African continent. Why are you going to borrow the men who will listen to you and hear you?
Okay.
I'm going to address the matter of institutional failure after I answer this question.
Okay. Well, there is always the possibility of change in every society. And writers, poets, even artists like Beethoven used music to strike changes in their society, and it worked out very well. So it's not possible that every African leader will have this on his desk, like Matthew Cooker, Bishop Cooker is trying to recommend. But it is possible that one person, like Yanni says, that every big change you see in this world begins with a good thought by one person. So I strongly believe, very strongly believe, that this is we're going to get the right people, and the people that are coming for the book presentation today are leaders across Africa, West Africa, and even other partners of African leadership.
Now let me tell you, I said, I'll tell you why I'm asking this question. If you look at the content of African education, if you look at the performance of institutions in African continents, and how much they have been diminished, if not captured, you could become hopeless. Because societies function through institutions.
I agree.
And if these institutions that should create hope after reading these books, after the content is made available to them, the first same people who are in the boardrooms where negotiations on African continents are made, or who receive the reports thereafter, having captured and inflicted their own values on these institutions, you are still looking forward to that one man who will read.
You see, now let me give you a good example that was raised in this book that is your darling. This is your darling copy. Now, at a stage we had to raise the question of youth involvement in leadership and what some African countries are doing. Incidentally, and if I still emphasize that no matter how reluctant it looks that Nigeria is on the saddle of African leadership, Nigeria can never run away from being the African leader. Either by omission or by design, things happen around Nigeria that reverberates in the whole continent. And one of that is the not too young to run bill. The not too young to run bill, because the book also treats something like, it treats the obedient movement. And the obedient movement, if you look at the government of Nigeria today, obedient movement looks like it's an opposition. Okay? But obedient movement is an outcome of a positive decision taken by the APC government by enacting the Not Too Young to Run bill. It became law, and then electoral reform. So these young people now believe that their votes could count, and they came out. The registration prior to the election in 2023 is a landmark that nobody has ever witnessed in Nigeria before. Since independence, people said it. Peter Side did his own head count and came up with a report. And this is the reason. So these are the guys who come into the government and start the change. And you see, there's this proverb that whoever holds anything that belongs to a child that raises his hand. These guys that you feel are the ones holding everything, usurping it and caging it, they're still going to retire. They're going to get old. And these young ones will go in. And these are the people we are propagating. These are the people we are writing this kind of book for. And these are the people we hope are going to be the change agent. And they are there. They are coming. There is hope. Because at the end of the book, there's a lot of hope. The book is not ended in despondency. The book has a lot of hope spelled out at the end that things are going to move this way, especially with the Pan-African gates opening to the ancient African wisdom, where we can derive a lot of development and civilization that were there compared to other civilizations. And we could find that in our folklore. There's a lot of folkloring in the book that tells us that if somebody could deliver this type of adage and proverb 5,000 years ago, there is something about him that is akin to development. So this is the way the book has used a lot of African ancient wisdom and folklores and adages and proverbs to move them into diplomatic language and use it to strengthen the argument that the African solution for African problems can be possible.
You just said something that touches the very core of me, and that is an African solution to tackle African problems. Maybe even before we began this conversation, I did make an observation about frontiers of knowledge and thought. I don't know what I said it within while this program was on. And I've looked at civilizations. I've looked at human civilization, human material civilization, even human spiritual civilization. The one that command global fellowship today. I have a phone in my hand. Someone just called into this program and I spoke with him. I said, please, if I couldn't hear you. This immaterial civilization. I just have my glasses. If my eyes are getting funny, I can see clearly. This is human civilization. I also happen to know that maybe you came in from Port Harcourt, or you came in from Enugu, or you flew in a couple of minutes, we were here in Abuja. The same thing with models of governance. Each of what I have said has a touch of the West on it. And each of them has a touch of consumption by Africa on it. And Steve, you expect these people with consumption orientation in everything and of everything. Let me shock you, Steve. Those are the people you expect to change our present circumstance and create a better future for Africa. And I said to you a while ago that I told my staff that if a very beautiful ocean liner berthed at our Papa port and boldly written on it is slave ship going to America free, my staff said they'll jump it. The youth. Steve, can you please help me? Help me if I'm not going to be despondent.
Okay. I understand you're an Igbo man. And before the white men came, and even till today, there is what you call the Ekpe Secret Society. the Ekpe Secret Society adjudicate for land disputes. They are still there today. They cordon off a land that is in dispute. And when they cordon off, I was told when we were small that in the olden days, if they cordoned off a piece of land with fresh palm fronds, humans and animals will never enter that place, including animals. And before white men came to us, I don't know if they had FBI. Now they are cordoning with red tape. Where do you think they learned it from if they didn't have it? So you give it a thought. The civilization that they found in Africa, almost every sculpture they picked up had a bruised nose. Almost every sculpture they could discover, go just check the internet. Anything they found in Egypt, the nose will be removed. Probably those noses didn't look like the nose of the people that could do that. If it looked like our own nose, then it will be removed. And in terms of running out of the country for greener pastures, migration, a chapter here is Jagba phenomenon. But yes, it happened. There's a comparison of migration drift in Asian countries and how they turned it to the advantages of those countries. Recommendations are being made here for Nigeria and other African countries. You don't have to exclude prominent figures like Kofi Annan, Emeka Anyoko, and the rest of them. And lately, the spotter wave is a product of Jagba, and he came back. And this is, but the thing is, what plans are there by African leaders to provide the environment that will make these returnees from this migration to flourish and not force them back into a second migration? Because when they get themselves facing a second migration, that will also be part of the vengeance of the abandoned. Because this time they are going out there with a bad message about the continent. So we shouldn't allow that to happen. If spotter wave comes back, I don't know, somebody like, let me say, spotter waves, as many as they are, can come back and say, okay, for this, if we have tax holiday for 5 years, we give you tax holiday for 10 years. And then you give us how many people you are going to employ and how many years you are going to stay before these people will become, and then you make it a project of your development banks. We give you loan, we support you. We want you to boost the economy from the private sector. And then we give you our own informal sectors. And how can you, interweave them into what you're doing and develop them? And then they become systemized into economic activity that can be methodologically developed and studied in the school. So it becomes a skill acquisition method. Not every year you give 10,000 to the woman every year, and that will not happen. And then palliatives, and then palliatives cannot work. So these are some of the recommendations that these books are making to African leaders.
Okay,
so it is possible.
Steve, let me stop bemoaning. Let me look at the dialogue. I do not know how some of my viewers will take it. Have you looked at the cause of situations like this kind of abandonment? Is it just economic? Is it just a matter of population explosion? Isn't there a culture / religious dimension to it? Are you looking at that, and did you think about how our governments could address those situations?
That whatever it is, there is red alert. Whatever it is, whatever could be the reason, whatever could be the reason has to be addressed, and very urgently, very, very urgently, because we are no longer safe. And we cannot move beyond where we are and still be who we are if nothing is done very urgently.
No, Steve, please, I want to push a little harder. Can you kindly help me with the likely consequences of a situation like this?
I don't need, you don't need a help. Look at Sahel. The whole of Sahel is overrun. You cannot cross any border between or among the Sahel countries or land. You can't. The whole place is overrun. There's an ungoverned space, and it is expanding. You don't need any help. You you don't even need to wear your glasses. I'm sure you will see what is happening all over Africa. Yeah, all over Africa. Africa is besieged by this. So whether it was carelessness of the leaders, whether it was culture, whether it's religion, whether it's wickedness, whatever it is, these books are saying, shall we address this now or be doomed? And we must address it. We can't go beyond here. We cannot. Definitely.
Okay. Organizations like ECOWAS and African Union and African Commission, do they have any roles to play in putting pressure on governments to please take account of the dangers of some of these things and begin to look at the policies that could either help or exacerbate the situation?
Beautiful. Yeah, ECOWAS Commission on its own has done quite a lot and is still doing a lot in this respect. The book also reviews the ECOWAS youth policy, and in that ECOWAS youth policy, you will see millions of dollars, are marked out every year and spread across the West African states towards the support of youth development in different areas. Even now, as I'm talking to you, there is a new program called Young Professionals. It's just like an exchange program, but now we're not exchanging with anybody, where they have to select the best in the universities, and then who made first class, maybe some who made second class upper, and then they bring them to work in the commission, and also spread them among other companies and organizations that are even the private sector, and ECOWAS Commission pays them. And during this process, they are immersed in the culture, in diplomatic culture and leadership that will help them develop and be the champions of positive leadership in Africa. So these are some of these, and as per mounting pressure on leaders, there is a lot of protocols, and ECOWAS is a crucible of development. It functions as a crucible of development, a catalyst. Where we develop all these policies, and then we do harmonization program and meetings where each member state goes to, and then money is made available to support those programs in member states, and that's what ECOWAS has done. That rehabilitation of abandoned children after or as consequences of the wars in Sierra Leone and Liberia were carried out for about a decade, and a good number of them were supported, sent back to school by ECOWAS. Of course, you also know that ECOWAS has succeeded in peacekeeping, because political turmoil, of course, is one of the things that disrupts the growth and development of a youth. So in this area, I would say that ECOWAS has done very well. for now, but that doesn't mean that we should go and sleep. A lot still needs to be done, because the crisis, like the book tried to do, is to try to give it a problem identity. So in trying to give it a problem identity, the research was carried out to find out what kind of problem are the African youth crisis. And then there are three kinds of problem developed by sociologists and town planners. The first kind of problem is the linear or term problem. The problem that before we started this program, you now said, okay, in order for us not to have power cuts, switch over to generator. So it's a problem you don't need so much thinking, and anybody can handle it. And then you have critical problem, the problem that needs a professional leader. Somebody has appendix, and then you have to get a professional surgeon that is going to remove it, and you pay. Then we have what we call the wicked problems, and these problems are actually intractable. It has a lot of stakeholders who are interconnected, and each problem becomes a symptom of another problem. So the problems are interlinked, and then it keeps expanding, and you need a lot of money, you need a lot of time. And how do you solve the problem? You use messy solution, because it is intractable. So the solution has to be messy. Anybody can come from anywhere. So all hands on deck. And then we looked at it, and then got the research methods and other authors that have worked on social problems to arrive at the point where that wicked problem requires messy solutions. And so the messy solution here, for instance, is to get all the supports, all the philanthropy, all the NGOs, all the organizations, local, international, that everything you are giving, because already we have in the office of the chairman of African Union, the office of the youth envoy, the use of the African youth envoy, and then this book is recommending that in every country, in the office of the president of every country, there should be the youth envoy, the national youth envoy. And then we have to have a national and continental super content of this, so that you get everything you are getting. We now put them under one umbrella, all the aids, everything you come together. And then we try to track those opinion leaders in rural areas to get the youth involved, who are going to administer. As we were coming, somebody asked me, why can't Nigeria plan? When they saw this road is going here, I said, no, Nigeria plans. Very good plans. I've been here for about 30 years in Abuja. I came here in 1986. Abuja is one of the best planned cities all over the world. Let me put it that way.
Very well planned.
Because after Brasilia, but it is the implementation of the plan.
Very correct.
So what governments have done very well, Nigerian, African governments have done well. If you see their plans, you will not want to have any other one. But it's the implementation. And who are to implement? We have to get the youth to be involved in the implementation. And we have the consolation in the conclusion of the book that wicked problems provide wicked opportunities for the discovery of wicked managers who have the wicked skills to resolve the wicked problems.
Please let there be no wickedness. Steve, I'm coming to the end of this conversation, but I must go positive, because for those of you who don't speak Igbo, the last book I'm going to look at, even though I'm not looking at the books in detail, is Songs of Ogade. Let me pronounce that word fully. Is Songs of Ogadema. It shall be well. Steve, this book, its title sounds not just positive, optimistic.
Yes.
Where do you pin that optimism? On what deepen that optimism?
If you look at Songs of Ogade, if you go towards the back, you see Songs of Hope. There are many songs of lamentation, sad songs, voices from sepulchre. Even Ogade at a stage has to write her own epitaph. But when you go towards the book, you see Ogade's last dance. So that's a regular dance, and then she's talking about a lot of things. And by the way, Ogade is a genderless name. It's not non-gender specific name. Before I mean another thing. It's a non-gender specific name in Igbo. So a man or a woman can be a Ogade man. So Ogade talks about being trafficked and how she survived and came back, being abandoned and how he survived and came back. And all these things now, Ogade is now helping other children who are in the same life circumstance, and trying to bring them up and then lead them to the bright part of life. And that is the last dance of Ogade. And by the way, in order to encourage young writers, there's Abdul Malik Yahya and Muna O, who also contributed in this book. Yes, and I had to give them this platform. Yeah, to also give them the platform for them to be read, globally by the special.
Now, Steve, to your person, it's necessary. Why to your person? Why did you combine literature, diplomacy, development issues? How do you get that mix? Because Ogade, from what this conversation is, a little bit of literature poetic, even though you're using it to talk about experience in real life and governance and development. How do you get into the mix of diplomacy, development, poetry, literature writing?
Maybe wicked thinking.
It's a messy solution.
It's a messy. I had to do a messy writing to address this. Yes, I would say that when I was doing innovation and strategy, or strategy and innovation in my MBA, yes, I was very captivated by one particular model that said that you don't necessarily have to solve your problem linearly. You can use rupturing. You look at your problem, it's too big, you just rupture it from another place, and then the thing keeps coming. Like I was trying to analyze to somebody, when I was doing the dialogue, for instance, they broke my car and carried my laptop, my bag. My laptop was in there, and I lost 2 chapters. So I didn't know how, so I went again and got the profile, and I had to start from chapter 5, from chapter 6. I wrote chapter 6, wrote chapter 7, and then I started writing back from chapter. So when I got to chapter 4, I couldn't write chapter 3. I wrote chapter 6, then I started writing back. When I got to chapter 4, chapter 4 could not join to chapter 2.
Oh my
chapter 2, because there's a gap there. So I went back and wrote chapter 6, I wrote chapter 7. I came back one morning and started from chapter 3. so this is, but actually, it was going to be a trilogy in one bind.
Okay.
But when I got to the publishers, they looked at it and said, no, it's going to be too big. So I had to break them into 3. And in doing that, you have to give each book a character, a front and back matters, etc., etc. And it was a little bit of punishment, I must say. Yes, so, but here we are. We can laugh now.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Well, Shakespeare, I think, who said that all is well that ends well.
Ends well, Shakespeare.
All is well that ends well. It's as well that the songs of Ogade ends in a regal dance of hope.
Yeah.
And for the Nigerian, African nations, really, it is better that they dance dances of hope.
Yeah.
But to do that, also something has to be given to the youth to be equipped to help them that dance. And that's what we're talking about. They must be a part of leadership.
The future.
I raised the question, and the youth also equipping themselves, and that's how we came to what effort ECOWAS is making, breeding new leadership, the youth, and making sure they're equipped for tomorrow. Steve, I want to thank you very much for coming to the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, my name is Nwabose Njoku. In the past 1 hour, I've been speaking with Steve Omoka, a diplomat, and he is the lead project and author of these 3 beautiful books. And he said, this is my darling book, Africa, Vengeance of the Abandoned. And Steve recruited me to this book, which I'm going to read with all my time, Dialogue, the Vulnerable and the Desperate. And this ends on a positive note, Songs of Ogade, It Shall Be Well. Let's believe that shall be well for Africa. The conversation never ends. It comes morning after morning. For the rest of the day, please, can you join us at the ECOWAS Secretariat later this morning, where these 3 books will be officially launched or presented indeed. Have a great day and good morning.